everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today on the channel, we're going to be wrapping up the James Cameron 4K Blu-ray reviews with 1989's The Abyss. I finally got it in, so better late than never. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review portion of the show, I like to give a quick film review, so that's what we're going to do right now. So if you want to skip ahead to the 4K Blu-ray review, you can do that right now. So back in 1989, after the success of The Terminator and Aliens in 1986, James Cameron decided to really make a passion project. One thing about James Cameron is he absolutely loves the water.
Systems are normal. You guys hearing the song okay up there?
James Cameron, explorer of the sea.
Yes, James, we hear the song.
He decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go shoot a film underwater. So he wrote and directed The Abyss. It stars Ed Harris, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, still one of the greatest names of all time. It also features Michael Biehn. I love Michael Biehn. That guy will always be Kyle Reese to me. And he's got a fantastic mustache in this film. And he's, also playing one of the main antagonists, which is always really cool to see from Michael Biehn. He really knows how to shift into that gear, especially after the last two films that he was in with James Cameron, where he plays one of the heroes. And at the beginning of this film, we see a submarine hit into something. It ends up crashing at the bottom of the ocean. Both the United States and the Soviet Union are going to be sending people in to figure out what the hell happened. The United States wants to get there first, so they're going to be sending in an oil rig team. They have experimental equipment. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio's character actually oversaw the building of this, but her soon-to-be ex-husband Bud, played by Ed Harris, right now is running that platform. He's got all these people working under him, and the United States says, hey, we've been given permission to use your platform to help us salvage the wreckage. We got to get there before the Soviets. Will you guys help out? And, at first they're hesitant, but they're like, you know what? We'll give you guys a little bit more money. How about 3 times what you usually get paid for this? Of course, that's going to turn some frowns upside down. If that was me, that is not enough money in the world for me to even get on this ship to do this job. So these people are already being very underpaid because there's literally no amount of money in the world to get me on a submarine. To fall asleep on a submarine, I could just never do it. And what these people do, the way they deep dive is incredible. But of course, it's the United States government. We got to send some SEALs with you to oversee the operation. One of those is played by Michael Biehn. And before you know it, things get really out of hand. There's a hurricane up on land, and unfortunately, the hurricane ends up knocking the crane that's holding the ship underneath, and it ends up knocking them even further down. Just before they hit the cliff, though, they stop, but they have no communication with the land up top. So now they're really on their own trying to figure this all out. And at the exact same time, Michael Biehn is just starting to spiral out of control. He's losing his mind. They say it's because of the high pressure down in the water. And from this point on, it ends up evolving into a very, very different film than what you're expecting. It's a science fiction film. And honestly, I'm going to be talking a little bit spoilers here because I want to talk a little bit about the regular edition of the film and the special edition. So if you don't want to have this movie spoiled for you, you guys can skip ahead as well, because we're going to talk a little bit about what the big reveal is in this film. And I don't want to spoil it for everyone just because I don't know how many people have actually seen The Abyss. A lot like True Lies, this movie has been stuck on DVD for so long and it's had some horrible streams. So if there's some younger viewers out there, you might not have ever even seen The Abyss before, and I don't want to ruin it for you because I do think that the ending to this movie is very special, whether it be in the theatrical cut or the special edition. So this is your spoiler warning. So as the film progresses and they're all trying to save their lives, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Ed Harris's characters, they're starting to actually rekindle that old flame. They're actually starting to realize, I still love this other person. And that's what I love about this movie. With a James Cameron film, this could be a very action-heavy film, but really it's a very heartwarming love story at the end of the day. And the regular theatrical cut actually really focuses more on the love story and doesn't actually focus on the bigger picture, whereas the special edition actually makes this more of a worldwide issue, really leaning into the Cold War aspect of this, leaning into the fact that we destroy each other, and that's why these aliens, that's right, this is an alien film. At the very end of this film, it's revealed to us that these aliens have been living underneath our ocean for all this time, or at least we assume so. And that's a big thing about this movie and why James Cameron is so fascinated with the water. Apparently, we know more about space than we do about our ocean and how deep it goes. We've never really been able to fully get down there because of the pressure. So, of course, maybe aliens live down there. I think that's what James Cameron is trying to explore with this film. And the aliens, they're like getting real sick of what we're doing. And that's really what they're exploring in the special edition. Whereas the theatrical edition, the very end of this movie, when Ed Harris, he sacrifices himself after Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio sacrificed herself. And these emotional moments between Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Ed Harris, they really are the cornerstones of these films. They really do get you emotional. And then when Ed Harris sacrifices himself, the aliens come to the realization, you know what? There are some good people on this planet. We're not going to destroy the planet, because in the special edition, they have the opportunity to have these giant waves just wipe the planet out, because you know what? You're going to do it to yourself themselves anyway. Let's just take care of it for you before you just end up destroying everything that's useful on this planet. But after seeing Ed Harris's sacrifice, they came to the realization, okay, there's some good people on this planet. But in the theatrical version of the film, that ending of the film is very different. They really cut off the entire world problem. We don't see anything like that. It's really just contextualized in a very small manner, really just telling the love story between Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio. They just want to save him so he can get back to what's now his wife again. And that's really what it's about. It's just contextualized as a very small story. It's not as a big, broad, worldwide story that would end up becoming, really exploring the entire planet and how we just treat each other. And really having a message like that back in 1989 would have actually been really good in theaters, but they ended up cutting it and really just not even focusing on that storyline at all. It's mentioned briefly in the theatrical cut, but it's not really brought to the forefront until you get to the special edition. And James Cameron has a lot of special editions, whether it be in Aliens, Terminator 2, or The Abyss. But when it comes to Aliens and Terminator 2, those are really take it or leave it. It really depends on your feeling. Me personally, I think that the Terminator 2 special edition is the better version of that film, but when it comes to Aliens, I think the theatrical cut is the much better version. Now, when it comes to The Abyss, I think that the special edition is by far the best version of this film. I think the way that they are able to actually flesh out the characters even more. There's a great scene with the whole crew singing. And the extended edition, it really lets us flesh out not only the love story, but also lets us flesh out this global story that they really buried in the theatrical cut. And I think it adds up making the stakes seem even higher, and it ends up leading to more emotional moments. And plus, we get to really flesh out the end of this film. And the ending to this film is just absolutely beautiful when it comes to the visuals, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to the 4K Blu-ray. Even though we were going to be sent home happy anyway with the theatrical cut, I think we were sent home even happier when it comes to the special edition. So I truly think The Abyss is one of James Cameron's great films. I prefer this film over the two Avatar films in my opinion. I even like this film a little bit more than Titanic. I think Titanic is a great movie, but overall, The Abyss is a fantastic, heartwarming story. Does it have some cheesy dialogue in there? Yes, it does. You know, that's something that's always a flaw in a lot of James Cameron films, really except for mainly the first Terminator film. But even when you go to Terminator 2 and it becomes more of a blockbuster, there are some cheesy lines of dialogue in there, and you get a couple of those in this. And I still don't understand why Bill Paxton isn't in this movie. He would have been perfect for the character of Hippie, but he's not in this movie. I don't know why. He's pretty much in every other James Cameron film, but it's very weird that he doesn't pop up in this movie. And I think there really was a spot for him, because as far as supporting characters go, I really think the supporting characters are a little bit more forgettable than when you compare it to other films like Aliens, say, which has a very similar storyline structure in the sense that we have a big supporting crew around our main characters. And I really think that Bill Paxton would have definitely fit right in with these characters, because a lot of them are a lot more forgettable in comparison to Aliens. And honestly, the set design on the interiors on these submarines, very similar to the set design in Aliens. You get the James Cameron blue lighting, so you get all the James Cameronisms in there, and I think it just leads to a fantastic film. So if you actually haven't seen The Abyss, you definitely owe it to yourself to give it a try. You know, it's a little bit long if you watch the special edition. It's almost 3 hours, but it's well worth your time, and maybe you want to pick up this brand new 4K Blu-ray that we're going to talk about right now. Well, here it is, the third and final James Cameron 4K Blu-ray to show up after True Lies and Aliens, and I'm just going to come out and say it right out of the gate, this is by far the best of those three, and it's really not even close. They really definitely gave all the bells and whistles, really broke out the best equipment to give us The Abyss on 4K Blu-ray. We get a brand new Dolby Atmos track, HDR10, Dolby Vision. The packaging is about the same as the other two. You know, we get these slip covers, and I'm still very upset about these stickers that they put on it. No idea why that was a good decision, Disney. What were you thinking with that one? I just do not understand why you would think stickers for a collector are just, oh man, it's like a cancer. You're like, we're going to struggle to get them off. We're going to be worried about it. We're going to be thinking about it. And they threw it on the slipcover. I really don't appreciate that, even though I do appreciate the actual art on the outside. I do like the actual art on the slipcover. You get the same artwork underneath. You come inside just like the others. It's a 3-disc set, one 4K Blu-ray, one Blu-ray, and then you have your special features Blu-ray, which I absolutely love. Not only do you get a new interview with James Cameron on there, you get all the previously released extras going all the way back to the Laserdisc days, just like with Aliens. So every stone that you want unturned absolutely gets unturned with the extras on here. I have zero complaints when it comes to the extras. I was so happy. They're a 10 out of 10, just like Aliens, having everything in a nice, neat place, every extra that's ever been released, including all the new ones. I mean, and just finding out how they made this film shooting underwater. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. The ambition of James Cameron, and this is really understanding how James Cameron is, how he's always trying to advance with technology. That's why when we talk about these 4K Blu-rays and we talk about this new AI DNR that he used to actually make these 4K Blu-rays, this new technology, it really does make sense in James Cameron's wheelhouse. Always trying to advance technology. Look at the last two Avatar films. You can't deny, even if you don't like the films, and I don't really like the two Avatar films, but even if you don't like them, you can at least acknowledge that the advancement in technology for both 2009's Avatar and then its sequel, Avatar 2: Way of the Water, both took big logical next steps in filmmaking. You know, in a world of bad CGI, both of those films really just took it to the next level and really are taking technology to the next level. And James Cameron was trying to do this all the way back in the 1980s. What he had to do to make this film, if you want to find out, all the extras have that in there. Speaking of that new AI DNR, which is very different from regular digital noise reduction, you know, we're not wiping it completely clean, even though it does look like that in True Lies and in my opinion in a lot of scenes in Aliens. You don't have as much of that issue in this. So the AI DNR, so this 4K Blu-ray actually looks very similar to how Titanic looks in my opinion, and I thought Titanic was a great 4K Blu-ray, and I feel the exact same way about The Abyss. But a lot of this has to be put into context. A lot like True Lies, I haven't seen it in good quality since it was on DVD, and that DVD has not aged great, just like True Lies. The streams that were put out for this, whether it be on Peacock or on Amazon Prime, looked absolutely awful. They looked like they were ripped from the DVD and then even made worse to be streamed. So this film has never looked good, in my opinion, in the last, like, I don't know, 15 years. So it coming to 4K Blu-ray just looks absolutely stunning. It does suffer from some of the same flaws that both Aliens and especially True Lies suffered from, but not as much. And honestly, making this film look a little bit more modern, it doesn't bother me as much as Aliens bothered me. Like I said, The Abyss didn't have a previously released 4K Blu-ray or even a Blu-ray, so I haven't seen this film in this high quality ever. And it's honestly jaw-dropping how good the 4K Blu-ray looks. And you also retain some of the film grain. I know that was a big issue when we were talking about True Lies and Aliens, the removal of the film grain. This actually does keep a pretty good amount of the film grain. You'll notice it more in light shots and everything like that, but there is still a good amount of film grain that they kept, and you don't really have as many issues, if any, when it comes to the waxy looking skin. Honestly, everything is lit great. The HDR and Dolby Vision are doing their job. We're really getting that contrast. I mean, this movie is just soaked in James Cameron blue. You get plenty of purples and pinks, which obviously if you watch this channel, you know I absolutely love. So just visually, this 4K Blu-ray to me was by far the best, way better than True Lies and way better than Aliens in my opinion. So I was absolutely thrilled with the visuals when it comes to this 4K Blu-ray. And it's the same thing with the Dolby Atmos track. The Dolby Atmos track is awesome on this, almost reference quality, and that makes no sense to me when you compare it to like True Lies or Aliens. Aliens, out of these three, which is probably the most famous, has the worst Dolby Atmos track out of this. You know, True Lies is like a mixed bag just throughout the entire thing when it comes to the visuals and the audio. That 4K Blu-ray actually has some really good moments when it comes to the Dolby Atmos track, but the Dolby Atmos track on this, it's phenomenal. I mean, mixed so well. You hear sound effects moving around your room. The score, when it's used, is coming in crisp and clear. I would have actually liked a little bit more score. That's a minor complaint from me. I just felt like James Cameron films always have great scores, and The Abyss score is actually kind of forgettable, which is, you know, a little bit of a negative, I guess, when it comes to the film. Overall, everything comes in great on this Dolby Atmos track. This is by far the best when it comes to these James Cameron 4K Blu-rays. It's just so weird to me how inconsistent all three of these films are when you compare them together. I don't know why that is. Obviously, The Abyss got a theatrical release, so I feel like James Cameron kind of put his heart and soul. Maybe he cares more about The Abyss. You know, when you hear him talk about this film, you could see that he was pouring all of his energy at the time into this movie. Everything that they went through to make this film, maybe he still remembers that, and maybe that's why he just gave so much more attention to the detail when it comes to The Abyss than it did with, you know, Aliens or True Lies. Aliens 4K Blu-ray is probably better than True Lies' 4K Blu-ray, but the problem is with Aliens compared to True Lies is I've had Aliens on Blu-ray and DVD, and I've seen that hundreds of times, whereas True Lies and The Abyss, I've only probably seen them both in my entire lifetime, a handful of times each, and that's just because they've been kind of hard to watch for like the last like 15 years, unless you had that old DVD, and it was just such a lower quality that I kind of forgave True Lies a little bit more than I forgave Aliens. And honestly, when it comes to these James Cameron 4K Blu-rays overall, you know, I'm a little bit let down. I expected a lot more, but overall, you know, they're priced at about $25. The extras alone, if you're a special features junkie like me, you're gonna be so happy with both Aliens and The Abyss, and even to a lesser extent True Lies. You're going to be so happy with all of those special features, so even that's kind of worth it a little bit. But when it comes to The Abyss, in comparison to the other three, it's by far the best. It's definitely worth the $25. If you only have enough money to get one of these 4K Blu-rays, I would absolutely recommend getting The Abyss on 4K Blu-ray. I would actually give The Abyss on 4K Blu-ray a really high score of a 9 out of 10, and I truly didn't expect that after seeing True Lies and Aliens. I expected to be let down a little bit, but I really wasn't. And overall, I'm still pretty happy with the James Cameron 4K Blu-ray releases. Abyss I would have liked a lot more when it comes to Aliens. That's the one that really let me down the most. And again, that's just because of my connection to Aliens. I've seen Aliens probably over 100 times. Whereas, like I said, True Lies in the Abyss, probably only about a handful of times each, and always really in pretty low quality. So getting this big boost of 4K Blu-ray, and even when you compare it to the pack-in Blu-ray, the pack-in Blu-ray on True Lies is probably the best version. I actually think that the 4K Blu-ray in here is actually still better than the Abyss Blu-ray. It's just, you know, the Abyss Blu-ray, a little bit darker, especially when you get to the end scenes. You know, you're going to want to see that in the brightest way possible, and the 4K Blu-ray's HDR Dolby Vision, they're really going to help push that over the edge. But anyway, guys, I want to hear from you. What did you guys think of the James Cameron 4K Blu-rays overall? And what did you think of the Abyss? Do you agree with me? Did you think this was the best of the bunch? Let me know in the comment section below. And while you guys are down there, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, share this video if you could. We even have channel memberships now, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, you want to become a producer for the channel, like John Doe Juggalo, who has a great YouTube channel out as well, Jason Martin and Mr. Smelly Potato, you guys can join the producers tier. But if you want to become a channel director, have your own film review each and every single month here on the channel, get a shout out at the beginning of the show, and at the end of the show, you can become a channel director like Frank's Media and Reviews, who has a great YouTube channel as well, my co-host of Collector's Corner. Make sure you guys head over to his channel, check it out, give him a subscribe, and I promise you guys won't regret it. But if you got no money to throw our way, guys, we don't mind at all. We just appreciate you checking out this video. We really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to get out in those streets, maybe get out in the water, and tell your friends about us. And then after that, we'll be seeing you around.